Josh Ravitz on your right. Josh Ravitz, a sneak and show aficionado, actually just quite the legacy player as well. Top-aided Grand Prix Denver much earlier this year with Jund.
Yep.
And you see him today playing Death and Taxes.
He played Maverick for a while as well.
Death and Taxes won the Grand Prix in Europe.
Yes, it got first and a top 4.
Yes. So Ravitz is going to be playing this deck. Joe playing Darkblade.
Now that is a departure. He usually plays like ridiculous. Like he played Post for a long time, and he played other sort of like fringy roguey decks. But Darkblade is fairly mainstream nowadays. You know,
Tier 1 deck.
Yeah, exactly. It's BBD brought it to the top 4 of the Star City Invitational in Atlanta most recently, and yeah.
And you know, Lauren Nolan won with it the last time we had Legacy 2 weeks ago too. So with the notion thieving of a lifetime, but we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings out there, Justin Uppel. So if you're watching at home, nothing personal. As you see, Joe does have a flooded strand, and he's going to kick the turn back. Ravitz's Vial is going to go up to 1. He started the game out with a Rishadan Port, a start that is very familiar for Goblins, not the old
White Weenie
deck.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's been a while since White Weenie got to use Rishadan Port, but Port Vial is like one of the scariest starts in the whole format, and he actually does activate the Port there to try and either take a mana away from Jonathan Job or force him to crack his fetch before he can, you know, brainstorm and use that fetch to shuffle away some cards. So heads up play there by Josh, as all he really wants to do is sort of buy time and tax his opponent's resources as his Vial ticks up and he develops his board.
That was a play on words.
No, it wasn't. It was just what the deck does and what it's named after.
Oh.
It's just...
So here's a question.
It's just English.
What makes this deck better than, let's say, a green, white, and Maverick deck?
Can I say that both decks are bad? No, I won't say that.
You can't do that.
Well, it's just like you have access to a slightly more combo-esque disruption suit, like the Mangara, Caracas, Flicker Wisp thing. You got that going on that the Maverick decks don't, and you also expose yourself less to the shaky mana base of the Maverick deck, and things like having to play the X spells with Green Sun Zeniths. You know, you're opening yourself up to Pierce, and it's just much more straightforward, and its cards are much more, I don't want to say high impact because they're still like random White Weenie creatures, but they're much more individually relevant, I guess is the way I would try and phrase that.
All right, well, here's one of them. The Mother of Rune's going to come in through the Vial, so now she's got the protection up for basically the rest of the game, assuming that Ravitz is used it correctly. You're going to see Mother of Runes coming through on the Vial again. It's going to tick up to 2 on the upkeep, so you stack that Vial trigger, put a creature in, and then ticked it back up. Wasteland going to take care of that Underground Sea for Ravitz. So now he's got the Mana Denial strategy going. This is something you normally see employed from Goblins, again, something that I'm very used to playing with Port and Wasteland. You actually get to see it here with Death and Taxes, which is they try to cut your mana and cut your answers. Mother of Runes does a nice job of cutting the answers. Port and Wasteland cut the mana, and then you can basically win with anything if they can't kill it.
Yeah, and I mean, it may seem bad, like, Wasteland is, you know, you're spending one of your lands to kill one of their lands, and Port, you're spending 2 mana to deny them 1 mana, but that's all completely fine when you have so much free theoretical mana from the Aether Vial, putting you really, really far ahead. And now with Violet 2, even if Jonathan Job is able to get out of this mana crunch, I see a Phyrexian Revoker for Ravitz, which can potentially come down and name the Stoneforge Mystic. And it looks like that's what's going to happen on the upkeep as he wants to tick that Vial to 3.
I think he wants to go to the 3 in case he draws Mangara or Flicker Wisp. And it looks like he may have drawn Mirren Crusader looks like was the draw this turn. I'm not 100% sure. I do want to...
Another pretty powerful 3-drop. Much more aggressive than, you know, the Maverick decks that play things like Knight of the Reliquary in that 3 slot as sort of utility creatures. The Mirren Crusader is really there just to beat down. It's a win condition, you know.
He does a nice job of it, too.
Yeah, it comes standard with some protection abilities of its own, but then the Mother of Runes making sure that it can get through anything and fight anything. And it hits hard, man.
So we'll see a Brainstorm resolve here on the end step for Job. Port's going to take care of that Tropical Island. Job gets to keep on moving along. He draws a Batter Skull. And, you know, this is what Death and Taxes does. You just see an Underground Sea, and Job is going to play, looks like a Dark Confidence. It is.
Makes sense.
But, you know, you see how they are, you know, you see how Ravitz is making things difficult on him with his mana. You know, he's got the Revoker to take care of the Stoneforge Mystic, so that's a Squire.
Yeah.
And then he's got 2 copies of Mother Runes in play to make things very difficult to kill. And now Ravitz is just going to
grab the cards he was hiding in his lap.
Yep. Busted.
We got your number, Ravitz. I have Flicker Wisp drawn for the turn, another just sort of annoying disruption card. You can use it to reset your Revoker, blink out a blocker, reset an attacker, reset your Vial.
Yep.
If you want to get some 1s and 2s out there for free, you can start over there. You can re-trigger your own, you know, Stoneforge Mystics if you're playing those, or with Vial, you can instant speed it in response to a Mangara activation. Is one of the bigger uses of that thing. You basically just get to Vindicate or exile a permanent for free.
So we're going to see with the Dark Confidant on the stack. Rashad Port's going to tap down that Plains. Bob's going to reveal a Wasteland. Job going to draw a Brainstorm. And again, Ravitz does have a Flicker Wisp and a Mirror Crusader at the ready. Crocus also available, but Crocus isn't going to play a huge role just yet. Not until Mangara shows up. But again, you see that attack there with the Freshman Revoker. People may be wondering why Job didn't block, but you know, he's able to give either protection from white or protection from black. So there will be no attack, or there'll be no blocking here from Job due to not 1, but 2 copies of Mother Runes.
Yeah, he would just be throwing a creature away there, but you know, that's what this deck is designed to do. It's like you don't have any good attacks, you don't have any good blocks, and now with the Mirror Crusader coming down, the Flicker Wisps threatening to come down, the clock is increased greatly, and Jonathan Job is kind of under the gun to come up with an answer to Ravitz's kind of ragtag crew here. You know, Jonathan Job has like 7 cards in hand and a bunch of powerful things like Jace the Mind Sculptor and whatnot, and just none of them do anything against the Mother of Runes, Phyrexian Revoker, you know, the Mana Disruption. All the things that Ravitz is doing sort of blank a lot of Jonathan Job's cards. So even though it looks like he has a ton of options, not a whole lot of them are actually all that relevant. Even like Tarmogoyf, if you play Tarmogoyf, Mirror Crusader just coasts right past it. Like, it's hard to come up with relevant things. The things that are relevant against Death and Taxes are very, very few, very narrow cards.
Something that a lot of people forget, too, with how Magic has evolved, is that Mother of Runes at one point in time was arguably one of the best 1-drops in Magic history.
Yeah.
You know, its creature type is human now, you know, due to the errata, so it comes down through Cavern of Souls, but this was a card that people would play on turn 1 and would give just people headaches, because you couldn't kill their best guy, you couldn't kill the Mother of Runes, you had to do all this work to get Mother of Runes off the table, which is what the super important part was, and then you could finally kill their other creature. But you can see that point being demonstrated right now. Look at all the work that Job has to go through to be able to try to block profitably.
Yeah. Yeah, even just 1 Mother of Runes, you have to super tempo negative and card negative. Like, you have to 2-for-1 yourself, spending like 4+ mana to deal with 1 Mother of Runes, but with 2 active that can, you know, both protect the one that you target. Like, you have to have 3 things to kill 1, or like split them up, or do some sort of like block and then 2 things come. Like, you have to jump through a lot of hoops and give up a lot of resources to even kill anything.
To kill a 1/1.
Yeah, to kill a 1/1 for 1.
You know, it's funny because we see cards in Standard like Faith Shield.
Yeah.
Sometimes we've seen cards like Shelter in the past, Blessed Breath, Brave the Elements, all these cards that give protection, and a lot of the time they're actually quite good, but it's not a card that you could actually play 4 of, because, you know, when it's good, it's great, but there's a lot of times when it's just like, it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't kill a creature.
It's pretty low impact. It's like you're kind of hoping for a 1-for-1 a lot of the time.
Yeah. But when you have Mother of Runes providing that protection from color effect, that's where things get pretty dicey.
Yeah,
because
it's like
you just can't do anything.
Yeah, it's like having one of those effects on an Isochron Scepter that can also block and give itself protection for free. You know, like, you can't ever attack either.
So Ravitz is going to Flicker Wisp out this Plains with the draw on this deck. So you see Dark Confidant turning over a Tundra. Ravitz says, okay, after that happens before you draw, I'm going to Flicker Wisp out a Plains. Wants to keep him off of 4 mana. Maybe he's a little bit scared of Jason, the Mind Sculptor. Maybe he's a little bit scared of a card like Supreme Verdict. Doesn't want that to get cast. So that's why you see him Flicker Wisping out of Plains, just to, again, cut the mana.
Yep, that's all the deck does. I mean, the clock isn't blistering by any means, but it's fast enough that if you can back it with a bunch of mana denial, then you know, you can create a pretty scary position. Even though you're not, lethal in 3 or whatever, you're lethal in 7, but they have way less mana than they wish they could, than they need to function, really.
So now Job is going to play his land. He's going to play Lingering Souls. There's your 2 Spirit tokens. That Plane's going to come back into play in a moment from the Flicker Wisp. And you see Ravitz is just getting everything set up the way that he needs to, and he can actually start pushing through damage with Mother Runes. Now we can see Mother Runes start to go aggressive. It's been defensive the whole time, but now he can go aggressive with it and say, all right, Flicker Wisp, pro white, get on in there, my friend.
Yep. The Lingering Souls, theoretically, stream of chump blockers, which is, again, they can't create profitable blocks with all these Mother Runes, but they can at least buy a lot of time and potentially give Jonathan Job the time he needs to overcome the sort of mana disruption and be able to do all of the things that have been sort of locked in his hand all game, and create some sort of game state where he can push damage, or push advantage and actually start killing creatures. But Josh Ravitz looks like he is going on the aggressive. Protection from white on the Mirror Crusader, and protection from white on the Flicker Wisp. So this is an attack for 7 that cannot be blocked, but the shields are down.
Yeah. Ravitz is basically saying, I need to get this game over with right now. My position has been pretty good over the opening turns of this game, but you're starting to come back a little bit due to Bob's card advantage, being able to hit your land drops, you wasteland my Schadenport. So I can't really mess with you anymore. You're starting to come back, and he can actually use Bob against Job. And he's going to try to do that, and it does not work. There's your Scrubland, but that's part of his plan right now, is that, if Bob hits a card, even if it's a 1-mana card, Joe goes down to 7, he gets protection from white on both those guys again, and that's your last 7 points of damage.
Yeah, any sort of incidental damage that Ravitz can get, he's going to take, because fairly often you can sort of use, your creatures are like 1s, 2s, and 3s, and the Mirror Crusaders are 4, so you can sort of create the exact best attack for your opponent's life total, So every point really matters, and I think the Dark Confidant has revealed land every time. One time it was protected by a Brainstorm, maybe even 2, but it has revealed quite a few lands, which is quite fortunate, and Jonathan Job brainstorming away, so it'll probably reveal a 0 next turn as well. And now Jonathan Job is finally sort of given, full reign. The shields are down from the Mother of Runes, and he's got all this mana. He's not being ported or Flicker Wisped or Wastelanded anymore. And sure enough, Sword the Plowshares actually hits the Mirror Crusader, not the Mother of Runes.
This was interesting too. Now is that kind of demonstrating Mother of Runes, how powerful it is. Is like the shields are down on Mother of Runes, but you can't kill Mother of Runes. You actually need to kill the creatures instead, because they're dealing so much damage. So Job takes the swords, takes care of the Mirror Crusader. He has a Snapcaster Mage in his hand, so he can Snapcaster Mage take care of the Flicker Wisp, leaving Ravitz with 2 Mother of Runes and that Phyrexian Revoker. And I think that's what we're going to see him do, is get the actual clocks off the table and leave him with some Mother of Runes. And there goes the Flicker Wisp now.
Yep, makes sense. Definitely makes sense. And now Jonathan Job is sort of at the point where he can actually turn a corner. I mean, he's got a black, a blue, and white creatures, so there's not really any good attacks anymore. Although he did draw, Josh Ravitz did draw a Swords to Plowshares there, so maybe he can make something happen.
Kind of a tough spot here with that Swords, because it seemed like Ravitz, he wanted to use that Bob against Job, but now it's like,
yeah, his whole offense is gone. Maybe he has to actually try and play straight up, kill the Bob. Let the Mother Runes buy a little time and, create theoretical pressure so that he can sort of get deeper into his deck and draw more relevant threats.
So here comes the Revoker, and an interesting block to me would be if he just slammed the Confidant, the Snapcaster, and the Spirit Token, just get the Revoker off the board. I'm not saying that's a good block. I think it would just be kind of an interesting block.
Yeah. I mean, that would be met likely with protection from blue, protection from white, plow.
Yep. Plow Bob.
Yeah, Dark Confidant. And then Jonathan Job has, a hand of a bunch of Thought Seizes that aren't that great, and, some lands in a Brainstorm. So, yeah, sure enough, the Spirit just chumps, because you have to sort of save life while you can.
Yep.
Because of the Mother Rune's potential to push damage through in big chunks. As soon as a threat comes off the top. And sure enough, that Dark Confidant goes farming.
So So now Job is going to untap. He's going to take a draw step. It's going to be a basic island. So you see his hand there. He's got an island, got a tundra, got a couple thought seasons, as you mentioned, AJ. Might want to check to see if the coast is clear here, see what Ravitz is working with. Because again, Ravitz has never tapped that Caracas for mana yet. I think he has another copy of Mother Runes in his hand. And Job wants to see what exactly is going on over here, as he's going to go back down to 8 to get an idea of what Ravitz is working with. And you see another copy of Caracas, another Phyrexian Revoker, and another Mother of Runes.
Yep, and I think you just have to take Mother of Runes here. The Phyrexian Revoker can theoretically, turn off your Jace, but wow, and he is going to go for the Jace plan. That is interesting. The thing about this is, like, with triple Mother of Runes, your Jace is under constant pressure, so you're actually going to have to plus it a decent amount. I mean, I think you can brainstorm this first turn, knowing Josh's hand. Oh, no, and he's really protecting it.
Yeah, so he doesn't want that. It seems to me he doesn't want Jace to be anywhere near close to dying.
Yeah.
Which, is understandable, because if you have Jace the Mind Sculptor, you would like it to live, since it wins the game on its own in most games. So He's going to Fate Seal Ravitz. He knows his hand. He knows top card of his library. He puts that on the bottom. Ravitz draws a Wasteland for the turn, which is pretty low impact at this point. And now Revoker's going to come across here. Ravitz is going to give it protection from white after the Spirit blocks. There's a Wasteland. We'll see what it's going to take out. It's going to take out Tropical Island.
Yep,
and again, in these Deathblade decks, the only reason that they actually play Tropical Island is to gain life off a Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah,
they don't have Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, it's not actually a green deck, but I mean, Jonathan Job has pretty much perfect mana otherwise at multiple sources, access to multiple sources of all of the other colors, so you might as well turn that off while you can. And another Fate Seal. So it looks like he's just going for the throat with this Jace the Mind Sculptor, not trying to sort of stabilize and come back into the game, but rather just race almost.
I actually kind of like this, where, especially this turn, because he drew Batterskull. So now he's able to put Batterskull into play. He knows what Ravitz drew for the last turn in Wasteland. He knows Ravitz doesn't have a source of Plowshares. So, his kind of thought now is, all right, I can get this established. This makes things a little bit more difficult for Josh now, as there's my Germ token. And while my attacks might not be good with it, his attacks are actually pretty poor now.
Yeah.
And Jace is going to be able to control his draw step, and I don't think he's ever going to be able to get over to Jace. Or if he is, it's going to take a whole lot of work.
Yeah, absolutely. And Thalia drawn for the turn. Not exactly your, turn 15 All-Star. That's part of the.
What are you trying to say?
That's part of the sort of mana denial plan. Doesn't really do much in this spot, but except for be a body. But I would say that Jonathan Job's looking pretty stable with a Jace at 7 and ticking up. So looking pretty good for him. He's got Brainstorm, Snapcaster, and 2 discard spells in the form of Thoughtseize and Inquisition of Kozilek, which he doesn't even have to use because he knows Josh Ravitz's hand is just a Mother of Runes at this point.
A reference they make in sports a lot is they often say that talent wins.
Yeah.
Talent normally shines through. The team chemistry might not be there, but oftentimes talent is what actually breaks through. And you kind of see like a demonstration of that, and where Ravitz's cards all work really well together. There's a lot of synergy there with the mana denial strategy and Revoker shutting off things, Mother of Runes protecting the things that are shutting off stuff, Caracas and its interaction with Mangaro. But you look at Jonathan Job's side, there's not a lot of synergy there. There's a whole lot of talent out there. There's a lot of good cards on the table.
Every single card individually is really powerful, really high impact, and those are the types of decks that I really like to play. I think that they often win through, the most complicated game state can be solved with a Jace the Mind Sculptor, and we see that type of thing happening here.
I'm a big fan of synergistic decks. I always have been, or decks that work very well together. I'm a Goblins player.
Yeah.
I really like how the Goblins interact. I love Goblin Ringleader. But if you're going to play a deck that is a synergistic deck where all the pieces work together to create a greater sum, that greater sum has to be pretty gosh darn good. An example of that is Combo Elves. Where all those pieces work together to kill the opponent potentially on turn 2. In most games, turn 3. Goblin's a little bit slower, but it's more of a control deck, but all those pieces intertwine. You see the Death and Taxes deck where the pieces kind of intertwine, but not really.
Yeah.
They all kind of work together.
They all work together to make a 4/4 that's kind of hard to kill. Like, why not, do something bigger? It's a risk versus reward thing, right? You're playing low impact cards for the potential payoff of how they work together. But if that payoff isn't massive, then the risk might be not worth it.
And that's not to say that Ravitz can't win the match. I think Job has done a nice job of coming back this game, and you know, he's turning the corner now, might be able to finally win. But you just see the power level of the cards on the side of the table. You've got Job over here with Snapcaster Mage, Brainstorm, Lingering Souls, you know, Batter Skull, Jace. He's got these insane discard spells in his hand. Job is over here with, Ravitz is over there with Phyrexia Revoker. He's got Thalia. He's got 3 Mother Runes.
He's got some Goblin Pikers and some Mons Goblin Raiders.
Yeah, he's really having a lot of trouble breaking through, and this deck doesn't have any reach.
Yeah.
So it's not like Job is in any risk of being burned out. Heck, he can cast a Dark Confidant right now at 8 life. He's got control over his draw step for the most part, and that card is also more powerful than anything Ravitz can really do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the difference between these two decks. Again, Death and Taxes just did win a European Grand Prix that there were a whole lot of people at. I don't know the exact number, but I know that European Grand Prix are not small.
No.
And the player who won the tournament has played Death and Taxes a ton and is very proficient with the deck. So it's certainly, you know, nothing to ignore, but you just see how the cards line up against each other.
Yeah, I mean, of all the people in that room playing similar strategies, you know, you can see why the people that won and why the people that didn't. And these decks, it reminds me a lot of Aristocrats and Standard. You know, very technical and a lot of like weird interactions that sort of culminate into more than the sum of their parts. But it Josh just kind of his start petered out a bit, and Jonathan Job, once he got out from under that initial mana denial, you know, he was able to wasteland the port, make all of his land drops thanks to Brainstorms and Dark Confidant, you know, giving him more lands. Yeah, I mean, he's just, once he was able to do things, the things that he was doing were way better.
And now you see all this work that Ravitz has to go through just to be able to try to get over to Jace. He gives both of the creatures protection from black to be able to push through some damage, you know, so the Battle Skull token can't block, that our Confidant can't block, but he's going through all this work not to kill Jace.
Yeah, no, to get it from 11 to 9.
To not die from Jace,
yeah,
is what he has to do here.
And so now he's got the 4th Mother of Runes in hand, and it looks like it's about to hit the board. I mean, I don't think you have much choice at this point. You gotta have as much of that effect as possible because you do need to push through that damage to get to Jace.
Now you're gonna see Job sacrifice a Scalding Tarn here, gonna take a little bit of damage, move on down to get some more lands out of his deck. But you know, I'm not sure how Ravitz gets back into this. You know, it seems like he's kind of treading some water here. You know, these little plinks at Jace, they're nice.
Yeah, keeping him from dying for a turn.
Jace kind of shrugs those bad boys off. Job just keeps building this advantage with Dark Confidant, drawing cards, and as long as, you know, he doesn't get too sloppy and actually get himself killed, it seems like slowly but surely he's going to be able to probably get this one.
Yeah, I mean, he's got like a discard spell that he can, if things get a little scary, he can bounce with Jace and use the discard spell. He's got a Snapcaster Mage that he can use to, you know, either get deeper into his deck or as another removal spell if he has access to it. Looks like this is indeed going to be a Brainstorm. And let's see if he can find a way to close out the game. Looks like a Deathrite Shaman and a couple lands.
Deathrite Shaman from 25? Hey, we can do it.
TikTok. Snapcaster, I think, also. And again, if he needs to get deeper in his deck, Jace can Brainstorm. If he needs to kill a creature, you know, the only Mother Runes that's untapped right now is Summoning 6, so he could bounce something and Inquisition it away.
So
a lot of options available to him.
Are you saying that Jace can do a lot of things?
Yes, it's got a bunch of text. So much they had to push the art frame up to fit all of that text. Every single one of those abilities on there.
So here's Deathrite Shaman. I like how you're like, you know, if he's in trouble, he can bounce a guy with Jace and make it discard it.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have the options, he can Brainstorm and find some.
It slices, it dices, it does it all.
The George Foreman grill, that's what it is.
Yeah.
There's nothing Jace can't do.
Just don't step on it.
That's true.
After your morning bacon.
Batterskull, are you feeling it? Batterskull's feeling it.
Yeah, why not? I mean,
all right, so Batterskull and Snapcaster Mage, those guys are going to come across. Looks like Joe's going to gain a little bit of life. You see his hand of Polluted Delta. He's got that in position that she brought up, and looks like he's happy to pass the turn back. You know, just Fate Sealing and making Ravitz go through all this work to just keep knocking down Jace. That means that Joe's life total isn't taking any damage, and that, at the end of the day, is probably all that he cares about. Is I just don't want to die.
yeah, exactly. He's so far ahead in every regard. The only like resource that you could say he's behind in is obviously life total. So as long as he doesn't just randomly die to, like, you know, an attack he didn't expect and a couple unlucky Dark Confidant flips that he could have avoided, you know, as long as he doesn't misstep there, then he's got to feel pretty confident. So definitely playing it slow, playing it carefully. I wonder how he got a draw.
So into Jace we go again with the Thalia and the Revoker. Probably pro-black here yet again to make Snapcaster Mage have to do some more.
Players Brian Emerson and Becky Consultant. Your ratings for round 1 are now up. Please report this
Yeah, this Esper Deathblade, it's a slow one.
Yeah, TikTok.
It'll grind you down. Nobody just grinds people down to a pulp. Eventually, I've seen many a times while doing coverage for these things, people just say, enough!
Yeah.
And they just give up.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, they want that 1 in a million time where the Esper or Deathblade player, like, misses something, just messes up, and gives you that one outer, and you peel, and it's a miracle, and you go home and tell all your friends about it. But, like, it just doesn't really happen.
It doesn't happen
all that
often.
No.
So Job's going to sacrifice Polluted Delta. Looks like he's going to go down to 10. Jace is down to 7 right now. And that Deathbright Shaman is currently 6, so it's not going to get to activate as you see him search for a basic swamp. Again, the interesting thing about the Deathblade list is that it doesn't play green, really, except for that Tropical Island, to be able to gain life off Deathbright Shaman. It's mostly used as a Birds of Paradise, and then can be a little,
it's just,
little bit of a win condition.
It's just kind of an Esper deck with Birds of Paradise in the form of Deathbright with a little added utility. You know, the price you pay for having one Tropical Island in your, like, fetch dual mana base anyway is pretty low, and the payoff if you ever, like, play against an aggressive deck and being able to gain life off your Deathrite Shaman is invaluable in those situations, so it's definitely worth it.
So in position, Ravitz says you need to pay 1 more because of Thalia. Here's a Caracas hand.
Haha, sucker.
Yeah.
Missed.
Yeah.
Got you good.
Pay 1 more to see I have nothing. Jace is going to Brainstorm now.
All right, so Jonathan Joe feeling a little under the gun now that Jace, you know, took a full 4 damage last turn. He's just like, fine, I actually have to do something. I can't just, you know, keep playing like this. I need to find, like, a Lingering Souls or something. Which actually, I didn't think it was going to matter, but the last time that he chumped with his Lingering Souls token to keep Jace at, I think it was 9 at the time, instead of 7, I actually would have considered just letting Jace go down to 7 and just putting the Batterskull on the Spirit.
Get the game over that way.
And finish it off. That's obviously a little risky against, like, Flicker Wisp, but I think that, you know, you've seen his hand. There's already 1 Flicker Wisp down. It seemed like an option that I would have considered.
Fiend Hunter for the turn.
A Fiend Hunter also would have ruined that line.
So Mother of Runes going to give him protection. We'll see the Revoker and the Thalia do their little dance again and come on across. Protection from blue. He's going to take care of that Snapcaster Mage. And Jace's going to go down to 5. So Ravitz fights on. Joe, again, I think he's just looking at, I want to make sure, and he does have another copy of Lingering Souls in his deck to find people to break through this.
Yeah, and that's got to be what he's digging towards. The extra Lingering Souls, or is his Umezawa's Jite gone?
He has that. I believe it's actually in his hand.
Ooh, oh, well, there you go. That is another card that can theoretically break through. You know, if you can create some blocks where, like, the Mother Runes have to tap so that your Jite creature can deal damage. Once you get counters on there, it's colorless. Mother does not protect against Umezawa's Jite counters.
Ooh, a Notion Thief.
Surprise!
Absolutely.
Don't draw any cards, Josh, with your white weenie deck.
All right, so Joe's going to take a draw to Misty Rainforest. 3 mana, Umezawa's Jite. Doesn't look like Ravitz minds too much just because he does have that active Mother of Runes.
Yeah, so that's what's going to happen is he's going to put it on something else other than the germ so that the germ gets through, because presumably you have to keep counters off of JIT.
Yeah, it's my assumption that that germ token and the Notion Thief is coming through.
Yeah.
Not 100% positive.
I think I would have tried to create a situation where both of the mothers are tapped. I'm not sure if that's necessarily possible, but that would have been, you know, an optimal way to do it if you can create that block. But with Revoker and the first strike on Thalia being the key there, and protection from black before attackers, it actually becomes pretty difficult to create that sort of game state. But at least now, Ravitz has to his Mother of Runes are starting to get to the point where they're overloaded to steal a chess term. It has to both pressure the Jace and protect against the Germ, and now protect against the JIT, and, you know, shield against removal and be able to save it themselves and all of those things. So it's starting to get to the point where they are getting close to being overloaded, and that is exactly what Jonathan Job is trying to create here as Ravitz draws yet another land without Brainstorm. These late game scenarios do not favor the White Weenie deck.
You see Joe make a bit of a blunder there with that Notion Thief, where I thought, you know, maybe something else was coming across, and you know, it looks like he just made a bit of a misstep because the Mother Rune's got the opportunity to block and then give itself protection from the Notion Thief. The Notion Thief just died, no counters going to the GT, and then just passing the turn back. So
that's awkward.
A small blunder there. Now, one thing that, you know, looks like Ravitz is doing here again is he's trying to push through damage on that Jace. Yet again, not affecting the life total. Looks like Snapcaster Mage is going to block. You're going to see Ravitz get protection from blue. Snapcaster Mage is going to bite the dust.
I would say, I think that it's less important that, you know, Jonathan Job just threw away his Notion Thief is the fact that now Ravitz knows about GT.
Yeah.
I think that information is far more valuable than, you know, some random 3-1 because of what I was talking about earlier. It was possible to potentially create a game state where you could get an attack through, but once Ravitz knows about the GT, he's not going to let that happen, because if that ever gets counters, then, you know, the mothers start falling, and then the whole house of cards goes shortly thereafter.
Alright, so Ravitz, we're going to get an activation here of the Deathrite Shaman by Job. We're going to knock Ravitz down 2 less. Job's going to untap. Again, Ravitz with that 1 Mother of Runes at the ready, along with the Fiend Hunter.
Also, less important than the 4 damage to Ravitz is the 4 life to Jonathan Job, because even if Josh Ravitz somehow pushes through and kills Jace, and Jonathan Job just draws another, so he can just play that. But, you know, as long as Jonathan Job doesn't die, theoretically, eventually, he's going to find his other Lingering Souls. You know, it is somewhere in the deck.
Well, one thing that Ravitz has done here is that he's eliminated Job's board enough that he has 1 color of creature in play, and that color is black for 2 Deathrite Shamans and that Germ token. So now he can actually start forcing through damage.
Yeah, he's actually now sort of profiting in the loyalty and life total departments rather than just, you know, this like mediocre board advantages. Another discard spell misses, and again, like these situations where he could have, Jonathan Job could have, like he gets the 3 Mother of Runes tapped, and then he like bounces the Mother.
Yep.
Yeah, now he's doing it, but this is. I don't want to say too late, but he should have done this much earlier, because now he can get the counters on the GT and win the game this way. And also he played his discard spell first, which, you know, you don't want to get your guy plowed or whatever, but like he has so much mana that that's not relevant. This sequence very easily could have happened, I don't want to say 10 turns ago, but like 6-7 turns ago. Where you actually do that, and then if the Mother protects another creature so that the GT doesn't get counters, then the Mother gets bounced, and you can use a discard spell on it, and then once again, the Mothers are already overloaded, and now there's less of them. And if the mother protects itself, as you saw there, then the Jite does get counters. And as I said earlier, Umezawa's Jite is colorless. You can't protect, a mother can't protect from it. And yeah, they're about to fall, and they are the cornerstone of Josh's defense here.
They're the glue right now.
Yeah, and as soon as they start to fall, you know, it's just a really fast domino effect.
We're going to see protection from black, and it looks like I want to see if he's going to go up to Jace again. Okay, and he is. So, you know, Job has the option to just go, all right, take care of your Thalia, or at least target your Thalia, because Ravitz has a Caracas, he can bounce his own guy, but take care of your Revoker, or do I want to take care of your Mother Runes, or do I want to do anything, because I'm at 14 life and I'm fine with my Jace dying, and he's fine with his Jace dying, so now we're going to see a Deathrite Shaman activation, the black half, going to remove Inquisition of Kozilek to take Ravitz down 2 more life. The second one, going to be activated to take down a Thoughtseize, it's knocked Ravitz down to 7.
Yeah, he has the 2 GT counters to take care of the 2 untapped mothers, so that he can guarantee that his GT gets counters on the next turn, and yeah, close out the game.
Ravitz did try to make an honest effort out of it. You know, he went through a lot of work to try to get the game done, and you see he's going to concede it up. Now the Batter Skull's coming in, Fiend Hunter can't block, and if it does block, Job gets back his Dark Confidant. So Jonathan Job is going to win game number 1 against Joshua Ravitz. Deathblade up a game against Death and Taxes. But again, one thing that I was going to bring up a little bit earlier, and I think it's kind of a serious consideration now, is that Job has a draw.
Yes.
That game took 35?
Yeah. Yeah, he took way too long to find that that winning line. I mean, it was available to him for quite a while, and he did, you know, to his credit, find it eventually and win the game. But, you know, he wasted an extra, say, 10 minutes on the clock when he had basically one position, and now Ravitz's deck can win pretty quickly. I mean, not really quickly, but pretty quickly. Whereas the Deathblade deck is definitely the control, definitely needs to sort of get to a stable position and win from there. Much more difficult for him to do, and even being up a game, I would not be surprised to see this either played to a draw, or even if Jonathan Job is able to stabilize, played to a 1-0-1 victory.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah?
Whatever it takes. We're going to take a look at the sideboards here for you guys really quick. Ravitz is going to be on the play this game. You see a Relic of Progenitus, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Wiltleaf Liege, an Umezawa's Jite, a Sun Lance, 1 Gutshot, 1 Oblivion Ring, 1 Leonin Relic Warrior, 2 Aethersworn Candace, 1 Pithing Needle, and 2 copies of Cataclysm. So his sideboard is a little all over the place, and I feel like I'm normally pretty good at playing the guessing game about what's going to come in and out here. I don't think I have a very good idea.
Cataclysm is awesome.
Cataclysm is one of my favorite cards of all time. It's actually the first card I ever built a deck around for a competitive PTQ.
Do you like drafting it in Cube?
I don't pass it in Cube.
Yeah. It's so sweet.
It kills Planeswalkers.
That it does.
Among other things.
That it does.
You can build your entire deck around it. I think the card is fantastic. You know, people look at Armageddon a lot for I almost feel like this is almost a better Armageddon-esque effect.
Yeah, it's like Armageddon, half balance.
Yeah.
It's just absurd. That also kills Planeswalkers.
It is just a crazy card, and I don't know if this is where it needs to be, but, you know, one thing to think about is that Ravitz can set up a board position where he has a land, a Aether Vial, a creature, and be happy to cast Cataclysm, where Job is setting up this board state with these Lingering Souls.
Yeah, he's using Deathrights to cast Lingering Souls.
Yeah.
He's just got like a ton of creatures.
Plays a Jace, and Job just goes, all right, Cataclysm. Like, your Jace is gone for starters. Your lands are gone. Pick whatever, like, dumb creature you want to keep, because my creature's probably going to be better than yours. Oh, and I have a Vial, too.
Yeah.
Like, he can set up a very, very nice Cataclysm against this deck in the sideboard of games.
I definitely think that is a very real possibility. I would not be surprised to see that come in. On Jonathan Job's side, we see a couple Supreme Verdicts. Again, you know, theoretically good, but it's like 4 mana against the Wasteland Port Thalia deck.
Yep.
You know, so it's
tough to do.
Yeah, kind of hard to get there, but obviously, you know, would have been insane at any point that game.
Yep.
So if the game plays out similarly, where Ravitz his draw kind of peters out, and he sort of just runs out of gas and can't deny Jonathan Job's mana anymore, then Supreme Verdict obviously going to be able to help him take over the game. We also see a Relic of Progenitus and Force of Wills, not too good here. Surgical Extraction, Celestial Purge, Meddling Mage, Counterspell, not really for these matchups, but Vindicate just has another removal spell that also kills Vial, and Path to Exile is another random spot removal spell.
Sure. So So we got about 13 minutes coming into this game. If you guys are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, AJ Soccer.
Hiya.
The Open Series has made it to Baltimore, Maryland. We're in round 4, of 9 here of Legacy. Josh Ravitz, Jonathan Job is the match on the camera for you guys. If you do want to join in with us on Twitter at SCG Live, hashtag your tweets with SCGBALT. We'll be checking Twitter on all weekend long for you guys. Feel free to interact with us and join in on the conversation as Ravitz is going to keep his opening 7. He's got a Plains to start off game number 2 with. Again, Jonathan Job is up a game here. Ravitz's back is a little bit against the wall because he needs to win not 1 but 2, and he certainly doesn't want to draw at this point in the tournament.
Absolutely not. Jonathan Job's got to be breathing a sigh of relief. No Mother of Runes or Aether Vial on 1.
Yep.
Both very scary cards for Jonathan Job's deck. And just the Stoneforge on 2, not a Thalia. Again, you know, the lesser of 2 evils. Stoneforge obviously quite good, but a Thalia really makes it hard for Jonathan Job's deck to even play Magic, especially with that port active. Whereas Stoneforge Mystic is just like, all right, that's a pretty reasonable threat. You know, I'm going to have to, 2-for-1 myself to kill it, and he still gets the GT, but, like, it can be so much worse that you got to be reasonably happy.
So the Mystic is going to search out the Umezawa's GT, and Ravitz is going to pass the turn back. We'll see what Job comes up with on his second turn, if he does have like a Dark Confidant, maybe a Deathrite Shaman, a Brainstorm turn, who knows, as he does have that Flooded Strand in play. It's his only permanent. Here goes a Scrubland. That's going to reveal a Source of Plowshares, get that Mystic out of here. Ravitz is going to gain a little bit of life, and that's probably going to be the conclusion of Job's turn.
Yeah.
Okay, he's going to sacrifice the Flooded Strand. Feels like a Deathrite Shaman, maybe.
Yeah, very likely. I mean, if it's a discard spell, you obviously want to sequence that before your Swords to Plowshares. Not that it matters all that much, but
it's a good time to cast Inquisition, it goes like.
Yeah, like if you're Inquisitioning, you want to do it first because like maybe their hand is so bad that the only card you really want to take is the Umezawa's GT, and then you don't have to spend a Swords to Plowshares on a Stoneforge Mystic with that extra information. But it is, in fact, Deathrite Shaman. You're going to play both those spells no matter what. It doesn't really matter how you sequence them.
So you see Ravitz pulls a Wasteland to the front of his hand. He also has a Swords of Plowshares over there.
Yeah.
So it looks like we're going to see a Swords take out the Shaman.
Swords to Plowshares on Deathrite, not a good play without, not that great of a play without the Wasteland, and the Wasteland not that great of a play without plowing the Deathrite.
Yep.
These plays definitely, never mind. Eschewing Wasteland for a turn, instead to cast another Stoneforge Mystic, this time getting Batterskull.
Those are the only 2 equipment in Ravitz's deck. He does have a Batterskull and that Umezawa's GT. He has an additional GT in the sideboard. So those are the only equipment. No fancy stuff like Sword of Light and Shadow, Sword of Fire and Ice. Sometimes you see those in the Death and Taxes.
Yeah.
Not this time.
Mother of Runes does enough of that protection stuff. You don't really need it anymore. And we are not playing with M14 rules yet, so the Umezawa's GT mirror that yours do legend rule your opponents and vice versa. So I'm fairly certain that Josh Ravitz boarded in his second copy so that he is more likely to have one and has a second to search up, so that he can, use one to kill Jonathan Jobs and have another as, to use. But here we see the Snapcaster, Swords to Plowshares, taking out another Stoneforge Mystics. Those guys like going farming.
Yeah, swords are being cast fast and furious here.
Yeah.
You see Ravitz's hand now. He's got a couple of equipment, got a Wasteland that he's considering using, and he is going to take out the Scrubland. So we're going to leave Job without any white mana, and now he's going to port him too. So now he's going to go to work on his lands, and you see that there's Jace the Mind Sculptor in Job's hand, a little far away from that one. So. Yeah,
the Mana Denial plan, obviously very good against the fairly mana-hungry and color-intensive Deathblade deck, but with no pressure on Josh Ravitz's side, how good is the Mana Denial really? I mean, like, if neither player is able to cast any spells, then Jonathan Job just gets to keep making land drops and attacking for 2, Like, he's fine doing that all day. So, Ravitz has got to get on board to make his Mana Denial tactics actually relevant, and getting on board with a Thalia is a good way to sort of supplement your Mana Denial plan while also having, a reasonable clock.
Yeah. So he's actually able to do both in one card with Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. Get a clock on the board, deny some mana, something to hold that equipment in Ravitz's hand as well as he draws the Swords to Plowshares for the turn. You see Ravitz picking up his pace of play just a little bit here. In comes the Thalia. Job going to go down to 18, and he was not able to play a land last turn, so now Thalia's really going to work, and you see that Ravitz drew Mangara this turn.
Yep, missing that land drop, absolutely huge. Whoa! Thalia affects you too, my friend.
Yep. So we're gonna have to pause this game and back up because Thalia does. Yep. And
Ravitz just realized it. Yeah.
Yeah. He realized it immediately.
So now what happens? Is he forced to cast the GTA with one more, or does it just reset?
Yep.
Judge talking it over. Okay, just goes back in his hand, and
it looks like both players agree that that's fine.
Yep. And uses the port. The port obviously more important than getting the GTA in play right now, as Jonathan Job is missing land drops and his spells are taxed one from the Thalia. You know, keeping him off of doing his super powerful things is really what Ravitz is all about right now.
You saw Ravitz stop the game immediately there and realizing that he made a mistake. There was no malicious intent there. Now he's actually able to make the play that he wanted to make, which was GTA, but he's going to go with Mangara instead so he can actually have Mangara plus port. You'll see Mangara there, Ravitz showing that to Joe. We're going to bring it up on the screen for you guys as well, so you guys can take a look at this combo that works out really well with Caracas.
Yes, Caracas is a card that usually is used, you know, to keep show and tells in check or reanimation strategies in check, maybe to save your own Thalia or Geist the Saint-Traff, but you can use it aggressively with this card, Mangara of Coriander? Is that what is a Mangara of?
That is correct.
Okay. Pretty sweet art, too. This card is pretty awesome in these decks. The way that it works is you activate its ability, which exiles target permanent and itself. With that on the stack, you somehow make the Mangara disappear with, say, a Caracas back into your hand. Now, the targeted permanent is still a legal target, even though the Mangara is gone, and you can now have that ability resolve. The permanent is removed, but the Mangara safely back in your hand, ready to be recast and used again next turn.
So it's this combo that you only really find in Death and Taxes, but if you're actually able to get it online,
Vindicate every turn is pretty good.
Yeah, it's Vindicate every turn. You guys see it on the screen right there. You know, the interaction with that in Caracas, the interaction with this in Flicker Wisp. You know, there are some fun little interactions here, but it's also just like a walking Vindicate, which this deck actually needs sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just randomly killing like a Jace or even using it as like a suspend Stone Rain is good enough a lot of the time when you're, you know, porting and wastelanding and stuff. And here we do see the Caracas activation with the trigger, or with the activation of Mangara on the stack, and then the recasting. And Jonathan Job is not looking too pretty.
The only issue here is that, you know, again, for Ravitz, I don't want to harp on the time too much, but the Mangara, getting him in the Mangara lock, it's slow.
Yes, yes. It takes a long time, because basically once you start this chain, you can't just like stop, right?
Yep.
Because then you're letting them out from under it, and all of that time you invested is wasted, basically. So you have to basically use this combo to get them to 0 permanents.
Yep.
That is the way that it works. And if Jonathan Job just, you know, makes some land drops, maybe finds a Swords to Plowshares, tries to break it up, he can definitely draw this or drag this game out and try and get to a state where they don't have enough time to finish, and Jonathan Job can win the match with a game draw since he is up a game. And it looks like he does have the 4th land now, found it with the Brainstorm, and now he can cast a Vindicate through Thalia. I have to assume this is going at Mangara.
I think it has to, right? I mean, you can take the ultimate risk and try to kill the Caracas and hope that Ravitz doesn't have another one, but if you're familiar with Death and Taxes, you know that this deck of play is not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 copies
all
of Caracas.
All 4 Caracas, which is quite unique, as the land is indeed legendary, but the upside is way too good to ignore. And even if you kill Caracas and Josh magically doesn't have a backup, Mangara can still just be a Vindicate, right? Like, you'd rather Vindicate the Vindicate than the land.
Yep.
So that looks like what's going to happen here, and sure enough, Vindicate on Mangara. So while that was cute and all, you know, you only killed 1 land with it. You know, it's a 2-for-1 that you spend 2 turns on, and now Jonathan Job has a bunch of lands, and all those spells that he hasn't been able to cast are about to be online.
Yeah, he's getting a little bit closer here. If you see Ravitz is going to play that Inni's Hours GTA, going to have access to a Shodden Port. Port is going to tap that Tundra. So again, Thalia is making things a little bit difficult over here on Job. Job looking to drop probably a land, you know, for quite a few turns here. That's really all he needs is just lands to be able to cast the spells and get out from underneath this Thalia Rishadan Port soft lock that's being put in place.
Yep, and it looks like he did draw a Scalding Tarn for the turn. Question is, how does he want to spend, you know, this sort of turn off before Jit gets online. He can Lingering Souls, but that doesn't really get him anywhere. You know, if he were forced to sort of triple block the first strike, the counters go on the Jit, and you can kill a creature or pump before regular damage. You're not actually gonna be able to kill the Thalia, so the Lingering Souls doesn't really get you anywhere. I don't know what else is in his hand. He may have Supreme Verdict, which he may be, you know, looking to try to get to with another land, which would make, say, Snapcaster Brainstorm to dig for that 6th land, so that you can get out from under Port and Thalia, which is 2 plus 4 for the Supreme Verdict is 6. You know, to cast his Final Judgment or his Terminus.
Yeah. It's a Chroma's Vengeance that does not take care of Umazawashita.
Right.
Yeah, that's basically what that is.
Looks like Lingering Souls. I have to assume that that's just to try and buy some time. I have to assume if he had a draw spell, he would have used it.
One of the least effective Lingering Souls you're ever going to see.
Yeah.
Is Thalia has first strike, so there's not going to be any useful blocking or double blocking that can take place. This Umazawashita is going to get counters on this turn, and here comes Ravitz equipping and moving in with this.
Yeah, and Mangara was actually the draw for turn for Ravitz, so if he wanted to, he could go back on that plan. But
Giddy up, let's go!
I have to imagine that porting is better, and he agrees. So porting again, and as you see on the clock there, we are under 2 minutes. They might have a slight extension, I'm not sure, but we are getting to the point where, ooh, all right, Snapcaster on the upkeep in response to the port. Now he's got access to, you know, a Brainstorm to dig for that land. Theoretically good. And also that's 3 blockers, so, you know, he can save 2 life again on the next turn. The Umazawashita counters on their own can't clear the way for the Thalia. Assuming that, you know, he doesn't end up flashing back Lingering Souls anyway. This Snapcaster has to be going for a Brainstorm here, right? I don't think he has a Sword for Plowshares anymore. He cast Plowshares on turn 2, but he flashed it back pretty much immediately. So I have to assume this is... Ooh! But there's a Sword for Plowshares drawn for the turn, so now things may have changed.
So let's see how Job wants to navigate this turn. As you're going to say, there's our white die, so you guys know there are 2 counters on the equipment right now. Job drawing Swords to Plowshares, kind of turning the tide on this game a little bit here. You know, making it so that Thalia is going to go away. He can actually have access to, you know, some of his mana to be able to cast some of his spells again. So Job really weighing his options here about what he should do for the turn. He's going to come in here, it looks like, with Snapcaster Mage and the Spirit Token. So in for 3, going to knock Ravitz down to 9. I think if you're going to take care of this Thalia, you probably want to take care of it. Well, I guess the Caracas is looming.
Yeah, you might as well do it on his turn, make him recast it.
Make him use his mana on his turn.
Yeah. And I guess hope to draw land for the Supreme Verdict?
I don't love, you know, you saw Job pull forward a Dark Confidant. I don't love the idea of casting that. So.
No. I think his options were like flashback the Brainstorm that he gave, flashback with the Snapcaster Mage, or look to cast Swords to Plowshares. And time is called for these 2 players. Josh Ravitz, so close. Can he push through in his next 3 turns?
Yeah, he'll be turns 0, 2, and 4. Job will be turns 1, 3, and 5. So Ravitz has the first turn. He's going to take down Snapcaster Mage. Here he comes with Thalia. Swords to Plowshares is going to target that. Caracas, I have a feeling, is going to bring this on back. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Funny thing is that Ravitz is kind of in danger of dying too. He's only at 9.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be tough, but he is only at 9 here. And now he's going to go with a Batter Skull. So 5 mana. He's going to take 1, go down to 8. And here's your 4/4 Germ Token.
Well,
but this opens the door for Ravitz now to land a Jace.
Yeah, Jonathan Job not getting ported and Thalia not in play. Jace Bounce the Germ is a pretty brutal sequence. And with Lingering Souls in the yard and, you know, 3 power this turn, even with the Umazawashita having a counter, it is possible that Ravitz just dies. But I would say that it is becoming near impossible for him to actually win the game.
So Brainstorm to start for Job. Hit 1 is a Marsh Flats, hit 2 is a Flooded Strand, then hit 3 is a Snapcaster Mage.
It's not all that relevant. I'm pretty sure this turn is still just going to be Jace. Although the Snapcaster Mage does give you access to like Swords to Plowshares for Ravitz's follow-up.
I would think I would want to keep those. I don't know how much needs Supreme Verdict now. Public Enemy #1 right now is Jace. I think that's the turn.
Yeah.
For Job. He's going to play Jace, bounce the Germ Token, shut the Battle Skull off. You see him reaching for 4 mana. There's Jace the Mind Sculptor. Pick that Germ Token up, says Job. And we'll see if he's going to come across for 3 or not here.
Pick that Germ up is good.
Yeah.
Ew, I want to touch it.
Yeah, pick it up.
No, it's gross.
I don't want to be attacked by it. And here comes Snapcaster Mage and a Spirit Token. Surprisingly, we're going to see, the last counter of the Uma's Aoshite, give -1/-1 to the Snapcaster, knock Ravitz down to 7, and Job's going to pass the turn back after he does play that Flooded Strand. So now Ravitz is going to untap. He has turn number 2 of extra turns, draws a Mother of Runes.
His turn has to be just play as many creatures as possible, which is then going to be met with Supreme Verdict from Jonathan Job, with Jace still in play, and that should lock it up. Even if they weren't in time, that would be a winning line, I'm fairly certain. So here we do see Flicker Wisp, blinking out the Batterskull, and then probably Mother Thalia.
And he's able to cast all of these creatures. There's your Thalia Garden of Thraben. Take 1, go down to 6. There's your Mother of Runes. So everything that you thought Ravitz was going to do, he did do this turn. Batterskull's going to come back. Germ Token's going to come back in because of the Living Weapon trigger. Job's going to untap. He's turn number 3.
And God decrees, kill them all. Bury your creatures.
You see Job is going to tap these 5 lands. He says Supreme Verdict, get everything out of here.
And there's the hand.
Josh Ravitz is going to concede the game. So Jonathan Job was going to win the match 1-0-1, but he'll win 2-0. Going to move on to 3-0-1. Josh Ravitz with Death and Taxes is going to take his first loss of the tournament. He is now 3-1 as these players do go into extra turns. Something we don't see a lot in the future match area, but pretty grindy matchup between both decks.
Yeah, for sure. And like game 1's kind of interesting because Jonathan Job